So you want to fly your Avata 2 in full manual mode, but it's not as easy as it seems. Where do I find the right settings in the goggles? What about rates and expo, tuning, all of that stuff? Well, in this video, I'll cover 5 simple steps that help you understand how to fly in full manual mode so you can get out there in no time. Here we go. Yeah, you heard that right, only 5 simple steps. Firstly, we need to get the right controller, then we're going to set up that controller so that it works in manual mode. Thirdly, we need to dive into our goggles menu to figure out how to set the Avata to manual mode. I'm going to teach you something about the rates that we can then in step 4 employ within the simulator. And lastly, step 5 is heading outside on a beautiful, non-windy day and flying your drone. Here's step 1. And step 1 is maybe a bitter pill for someone to swallow, but you're gonna say goodbye to your RC Motion controller.
Goodbye, old friend.
And instead, you're going to fall in love with this guy. As of making this video, the RC3 FPV controller costs about 170 euros, 150 if you can get it with discount, and around $200 in the US. And it's a must purchase. You really need to have this controller. Now let's talk about this controller. When you get it out of the box, you can use it to fly your drone in standard or sport mode. This basically allows you to fly your drone like you would fly, for example, a Mini 5. Now you can already start flying your drone with goggles on your face using the normal controls, but it will not generate the result that you want, which is the full manual option. In order to set this drone to full manual, the first thing you need to do is open up the tab on the rear of the remote controller. Now once you've done that, there's 2 screws, you have F1 and F2 screw. And what you need to do is you need to tighten the F2 screw. This will remove the spring action from your left joystick, and it will allow you to use that joystick as a very important step into flying full manual. After you've done that, close it back up and your controller should now be ready to start flying full manual. Now what you have to do is turn on all 3 of your devices, so your goggles, the controller, and your drone. Then you want to go into the menu, go to the control settings, and from here on out, the first tab allows us to change some of the buttons on this controller. And on the N mode switch, you want to enable manual mode. Obviously, DJI is going to prompt you with the "Are you sure that you want to do this?" And since you're watching this video, I can guarantee you that you should be sure to do it. So just press OK and close it. Your drone can now go to full manual mode. But before we're gonna do that, I wanna teach you a little bit about how to actually fly the drone in full manual, or how you can expect it to respond to the control inputs. And to do that, I need to teach you a little bit about the movements of the drone. First, you did remove the spring function from the left joystick, and now when you move that joystick up or down, it will determine how fast the rotors of the quadcopter or the drone are spinning. The faster the rotors spin, the more thrust the drone generates. The more thrust it generates, the faster it will start moving up. And this is something that you play with a lot. How much throttle should I give to keep the drone at a certain speed or a certain altitude? That's why we need the stick to stop from recentering, because if the stick recenters, that means the drone might either fly upwards or downwards as soon as you let go of the stick. So you're constantly fighting a wrong input to what you actually want the drone to fly as. All right, now that we've covered the throttle, let's cover the 3 basic movements of your drone. And these are roll, pitch, and yaw. First, let's start with roll. Roll is the drone tumbling over its length axis, either left or right. And this is achieved by the right side propellers and the left side propellers spinning at different rates, causing the drone to flip. This is controlled by the right joystick by moving it to the left or to the right. Then let's talk about pitch. Pitch is the drone tumbling forward or backwards. This is achieved by the forward propellers and the rearward propellers speeding up or slowing down, causing the drone to make a flip-like movement. You control pitch by moving the right joystick either up or down. Yaw is the movement of the drone rotating clockwise or counterclockwise in a flat plane. This is achieved by having 2 of the 4 propellers that move counterclockwise, for example, spin much faster, and this will spin the drone counterclockwise as well. Now, before I tell you how these 4 basic movements, speeding up the propellers and then the 3 rotational axes, translate into the drone flying in a way that you want to, I want to talk to you about something that you may have already heard of, which are gain and expo rates, or simply rates. You see, the speed at which the drone rotates in any given plane with any given stick input changes greatly on the rates that you set it at. And I really want to dive into this a little bit deeper to help you understand, to at least basic level of knowledge, how rates work, because varying rates can really affect whether or not you're able to actually fly the drone or crash it constantly. And since we're going to be flying in a simulator in the next step, I want you to know what you can set your rates at, and then I want you to actually play with those rates in the simulator to find rates that work for how your brain works. I'm a gamer. I can handle a little sharper rates because I have dexterous fingers and I can easily translate joystick inputs into real-life movement. But if you're not like that, then you may want some more mellow rates to help you at least keep the drone in the air and then work from there on out. In the DJI goggles, you'll find 3 types of rates that you can set for the 3 types of movement. Now, these rates are center sensitivity, expo, and then max rate. Expo determines how exponential the movement of your drone gets exaggerated as you move your stick closer towards the outer endpoint. So in the middle, the stick will behave less sensitive, giving you more precise movements, while at the end of the range, the stick will be less sensitive, giving you faster movements, allowing you to do, for example, sharp turns or even flips. The higher expo number means that the middle of the stick will stay at a less sensitive rate for longer, and then suddenly it will start going very quickly towards the end point that you set. A lower expo number means that the exponential rate is more gradual, which in turn means that the stick input will behave more linearly across the entire range. Here you can see how the stick travels along the expo rate. Now, the second thing we can tinker with is the center sensitivity. And this number determines how sensitive the stick is around the center point. A lower center sensitivity means that when you move the stick around the center point, the drone will make less movement. Whereas a higher center sensitivity will mean that around the center point, the drone will already behave much more radical towards minor stick input. The last rate will determine how quickly the drone rotates in any of the 3 planes in degrees per second. So in the case of 600, when you push the right joystick all the way to the front, the drone will tumble forward at a rate of 600 degrees for a second, and if you release it, then it will stop moving and stay in that position. The higher this rate, the quicker the drone will flip, up until the physical limits of the drone itself, right? If you have it on 5,000 and the drone is incapable of rotating 5,000 degrees per second, which it probably wouldn't, then that's not going to work. So there is a physical limit to the drone, and the stronger the drone, the faster it can flip. But then again, at some point it will be flipping so fast that you won't be able to see where you are, making the drone very difficult to fly. In general, lower rates mean more steady movement, right? So the pros for lower rates are that it looks Oh, so cinematic. And it's easier for beginners, but it might leave the drone feeling a little sluggish. Whereas higher rates means that you can do flippy flips with your drone and it feels very responsive, but it might also give you jittery images or too rapid of movements that it stops looking cinematic. Now, if you're a beginner, I would suggest setting the sensor. Go again, man. Come on. My rates for you as a beginner would be to put the center sensitivity at around 100 to 150, to put the expo in between 0.5 and 0.6, and to put the max rate in between 450 and 650. To set the rates, you put the goggles on your face and you dive into the menu again. Press Settings, go to Control, go to Remote Controller, and here you go to the third tab of Gain and Expo. Here you can change all your roll, pitch and yaw settings. And while you're at it, uncheck the N mode attitude limit. Press Confirm, and now your drone can also go upside down. Before I go for the next tip, I'd like to ask you a small moment to just hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It would help me out so much with the YouTube algorithm and would help me grow this channel so that I can make more videos and help more people in their journey of flying drones. All right, let's go to the next stage, which is flying in the simulator. You heard that right, flying in the simulator. You're not going to fly your drone in full manual mode for the very first time outside. Even though I just taught you how the stick inputs work, to translate that stuff to actual drone movement takes some practice. And the best way to practice is by downloading a simulator and crashing your drones for God knows how many times. And it doesn't matter. You just hit a button, you restart, and then you can try again and again. Now, while the simulator doesn't completely simulate how a drone behaves outside, it will help you gain that muscle memory so that you can fly your drone outside and learn the last little bits of flying the drone in real life without crashing it. Now, as for simulators, there is unpaid simulators and paid simulators, and I would advise you to get a paid simulator because they just do it a little bit better. The physics are better and it will help you understand flying the drone much quicker than an unpaid simulator. In this video, I'll teach you how I used Liftoff. If that's not the simulator that you want to use, no worries, you can get another simulator. You can still use my tips, but in Liftoff, I'll also teach you how to get a Avata 2-like drone so that it in the simulator behaves like the Avata 2 would outside. And here we are in Liftoff. First thing we need to do is we need to download a drone that behaves like the Avata 2 that you have sitting somewhere in your home now, eager to fly, right? So we'll go to Tools, Workbench, Drone Editor. And once we go here, we're going to this little drop down and we're going to go to Workshop Blueprints. And what that does is that allows us to go to this icon. Basically, this is the Steam icon, and here is a empty, ready to be created drone. So you go there and it'll open the Steam Workshop, and here you can type in Avata 2 FCC. Press enter. That's the drone I used. I think it has specs that really look like the Avata 2. So all you need to do is click it, and then here you need to press subscribe, I think is what it is. I already subscribed, so I don't really need to do that. And then that drone will appear here. It doesn't look like it, but it flies like it, and that's all we need, right? And then all you do is press back, and now the drone should be ready for you to pick. Let's go into a level where we can fly the drone. Let's go into free flight. And I like you to pick the straw bale level. Why? It's an open field and that's where we're going to practice. We don't really want to be dodging obstacles just yet. Click no track. And here you have to go to the drop down, find the workshop blueprints, select the Avata 2 FCC that you just downloaded and press it. Here we are in the simulator. As you can see, the throttle that I'm using here now is working on the drone, which is great. Another couple of things. First, what we want to do is the rates that we discussed earlier, we want to be inputting them into the controller here. So you do that by tapping Escape. And then you go to Flight Controller Settings, and then it says Attempting to modify blueprint, and we're just going to go ahead and say yes. Now here, the rates that we want to use are actual rates. That's the type of rate system that I discussed. It's the type of rate system that is being used with the Avata 2. And here you want to set the rates to something that you like. So let me go ahead and just set those rates. Right, the rates are set. Now you could also, if you want to set the throttle rates over here, the Avata 2 doesn't use it. And as we're going to fly outside, you'll notice that the throttle of the Avata 2 changes strongly depending on how full the battery is. So we're just going to leave that untouched. Press save, hit back, resume. Now, one thing that's important is to look in the top left of the screen and it should say Acro. If it's not saying Acro, you're going to need to press the A button a couple of times. This will cycle through different modes. We're not going to use any other mode. I won't be bothering to explain them because they don't really translate to how you're going to fly your Avata in manual mode. So don't change it. Just go to Acro Mode. That's it. The last thing you need to do is to set the camera angle. I would suggest putting it at 25 degrees, just like that, and then you're ready to fly. Now, the 3 exercises we're going to talk about is exercise number 1, learning how to hover, and then we're going to fly forward, and lastly, we're going to make turns. These are the very basics of flying your drone, and once you've mastered all 3 of these, you can take the drone outside and do exactly the same, but then in the open, fresh air. Now, the first exercise is to just simply hover the drone. As you can see in the bottom of the screen, I'm slowly bringing the throttle up, and at some point the drone will start moving up. Now it's hovering, and the reason it's bouncing is that when it's at the ground, the drone produces a little bit more thrust because it's pushing off not against the air, but actually pushing off against the ground. And then as soon as it comes into the air, it starts going down a little bit. So this is how you hover. Giving a little bit more thrust will allow it to hover a little higher. And then once I reach this point, the drone will start moving upwards. Now your first exercise is to just find the position, and you're going to have to constantly change it up, giving a little bit more, a little bit less, is how to make the drone stay at a certain altitude. Right, here we go. Now we need to a little bit more, a little bit less. There we go. And now it goes up a little bit, so I move the stick down, it goes down. Well, that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to find that sweet spot. And if you think it's too hard to find that sweet spot, then you might need to reduce the center sensitivity. All right. Second exercise is to do the same, sort of, but to catch the drone from the air. So you're going to fly up and then remove all throttle. Now, normally if I do that, the drone would crash. But what I want to do is I want to be able to catch the drone before it hits the ground by rapidly throttling up very briefly. That will catch the drone from a fall. And this is important because later you might find yourself in a situation that you really need to catch the drone from the air. Just like that. So you understand that whenever the drone needs a little bit extra power, that's basically what the top end of the throttle control is for. You're never going to fly it like this. It's going to deplete the power of your drone very quickly, and besides, look how high I am in a couple of seconds. And as you get familiar with that, you can start catching the drone a little softer. All right. Once you know how to do this, it's time to translate the upward movement into forward movement. And all you need to do is to get to a level where the drone is hovering in the air, and then tap the forward stick a couple of times, or in one fluid motion if you like. And then the drone will start going forward. So just forward a little bit. Now, as you can see, The horizon is now level. Right, let me fly it the other way. As you can see, the horizon is now level. This means the drone is now tilted at 25 degrees. And then the drone has a cruising speed of about 55 kilometers an hour without losing altitude, which is, I think, great for you to get started with. If you want the drone to fly faster, all you need to do is angle it down more and then put more throttle in. Look, now we're flying at almost 100 kilometers an hour. But the image is not that nice when you're angled downward this much. So if you intend to ever fly this fast, obviously you'll need to change the camera angle. All right, after we've done flying forward, we're going to have to add some turns. Now, turns are a bit difficult because they involve a 3-axis motion. If you want to turn only using yaw, you're going to fall down. I'm now only using yaw. I'm not really turning. There we go. If I want to turn only using roll, then nothing's happening as well. If I want to turn using roll and yaw, but I'm not using pitch, I'm flying down into the ground. So what I need to do is I need to combine all 3 movements. So when you make a turn, what you're going to do is you're going to roll, yaw, and pitch upwards, and that provides you with a turn. And then you might have to adjust. And sometimes you need to give a little bit of extra throttle as well. As you can see from my stick inputs, when I'm making a turn, it requires all of the sticks to move in a 3-dimensional way. So what you're going to do in this part of the exercise is first you can pick a side that you think turning is easier. For me, that's a left-hand turn. Everybody has a preference. And you're going to fly, and then at one point you're going to also practice a right-hand turn. Just make slow and nice turns and fly in a figure 8. Once you can do this while talking or making a YouTube video, you're done. Then you can close off the simulator and you can take your Avata 2 or your Neo 2 if that's what you have. And that means we've arrived at the 5th and final step, which is to take your drone outside and fly it in the open air in manual mode. But before we do that, you're going to need to look at a couple of things. First and foremost, find yourself a day that is not windy. Wind has great effects on drones, and when the drone is flying in a computerized mode, you don't really notice the wind that much because the drone is stabilizing itself. If you're going to fly full manual mode, wind definitely has its effect. Second, look for an open space with no trees and plenty of spaces for you to land. And lastly, look up your drone regulations. The Avata 2 is a drone that weighs over 250 grams, meaning that in Europe you need to fly it with a drone license. And because you're using goggles, you don't have visual line of sight of your drone, so you're going to have to fly with a spotter. But having said that, look up the drone regulations for your country to see which holds up true. And once you've taken that into account, let's go outside to a nice open field. Okay, we're finally out in the field. It's about to happen. You're going to fly your Avata 2 in manual mode for the very first time. One more tip. This thing. There is a cord that comes with the controller. Use the cord at all times because, especially right now, it's quite chilly. So my hands are stopping to be, as effective and as dexterous as they are. And if I let the controller fall out of my hand, it might fall, onto one of the sticks, giving me wrong inputs, crashing my drone. Not something that you would want. Okay, let's turn everything on. So here we have the goggles view. And the first thing you need to do is just launch the drone upwards, way up into the sky to a nice and high place that gives you some time to correct for your mistakes. As you can see, it was a windy day, just judging by how tilted the horizon is when I'm putting the drone sideways into the wind. But we're flying anyway, so I hit the toggle for manual mode, put the sticks in the right position. As you can see, you need to put the sticks in the position that it prompts to, and now I'm switched into manual mode. Here I'm flying fully in manual mode, not having to rely on the computers. And as you can see, even I have to still take into account how's the drone flying today with all of the wind? How are my stick inputs? But this is all you do. You have a football field, you fly straight, and then you make a turn, and then you fly straight again. That's all there is to it. Once you've done this step, congratulations, you can fly in manual mode. Now there's one more thing that I'd like to add, and that is that DJI put a panic button on your controller. This is the pause button. So say you're flying around and suddenly you start making turns that you feel uncomfortable with. Well, all you have to do is hit the pause button and it will instantly drop out of manual mode. Watch. There we go. I hit the pause button and I'm back to normal mode. The GPS takes over and the drone will hover automatically. And this is great in the beginning for when you're about to make a stupid move and you don't want to crash your 400 euros drone. Now all you need to do is select manual mode again and drop back into manual mode and start flying. Then I want to leave you with one final note. Whenever you fly the Avata, select 60 frames per second to fly with. The goggle feed that we're looking at now is in 60 frames per second only because the Avata is filming in 60 frames per second. If you're using your Avata to film in 30 frames per second, you're going to get 30 frames per second in your goggle feed, and that means it's kind of hard to see oncoming objects clear enough for you to respond to. Ooh-wee, that was a long video. Well, if you made it this far, well, congratulations. That probably means you're able to fly the Avata outside in manual mode, and I congratulate you. It's not an easy step. It can be very daunting, and if you've done it, you should be proud of yourself. Now, this is the beginning of a journey. It's not the end. Once you know how to fly outside, your footage probably doesn't look as great as you would want it to. I know mine doesn't, so you're going to have to practice. Soon I'll be making some videos where I teach you my practice routines to get better at flying sharp turns, flying through gaps, making flips, all of that jazz. So stay tuned for that. But for now, I'd like to close the video off by thanking you for watching. Again, you can help me a lot by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, hitting the bell icon so you get notified for the new videos when they come out. And I hope to see you the next time. Till then, keep flying, have fun, and I'll see you. Bye.